Hello and welcome to this virtual webinar, the Cash-Based PT Blueprint, Launch Your Six-Figure Cash-Based PT Studio. I'm so pumped that you're here. My name is Dr. Ariel Edwards. I'm a physical therapist. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and I'm co-founder of Fixed, which is a recovery and bodywork studio. We do physical therapy, but we also do lots of other cash-based services like dry needling, cupping, stretching, all kinds of different things. Essentially, we wanted to do physical therapy our own way. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly how we went about doing that today and why becoming a cash-based physical therapist was the best thing that I've ever done for my career. So my goal of this webinar, there's a few different things. I want to bring light to the pros of becoming a cash-based physical therapist because before I jumped in and started my cash-based career, I had no idea the impact that it was going to have on my home life, my personal life, my work-life balance. There are so many reasons why this was the best decision for me, and so many reasons why I encourage other physical therapists to do the same. I also want to reduce the fear around taking the leap to become a business owner because this was one of the scariest things that I had to deal with when opening my own business, right? I went to school for physical therapy. I didn't go to school for business ownership. There were so many pieces of the business that I didn't know if I was going to be able to manage in the beginning. But once I actually started learning, diving in and taking control of my business, I realized that it wasn't nearly as challenging as I thought it was going to be, and something that I probably could have done long before I actually did. And then I want to talk about potential opportunities to open your own Fixed. We have some exciting things coming down the pipeline. Fixed is now a franchise, so I want to talk about some of the reasons why opening a Fixed could be the right path for you. So first, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that we faced if you're an insurance-based physical therapist. Then we're going to talk about all the amazing benefits of becoming a cash-based PT. We're going to talk about getting started and why owning your own business really isn't as scary as you might think. And then we're going to talk about a future with Fixed and see if this is something that you may actually want to collaborate on and something that could potentially bring some of the same opportunities that they've given to me could be given to you as well. So let's dive into the challenges of being an insurance-based PT, which I'm sure many of you have been there. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. And I got into physical therapy because I love working with people. And as soon as I started working in the insurance field, I was like, wait, something doesn't seem right. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. So I graduated from Northeastern in 2016. You guys, I'm sure, have a very similar story. You went to school for 6 or 7 years to get your doctorate to become a physical therapist. And then that was going to be it. That was going to be the dream. I was going to start working and I was going to start helping as many people as possible, work in a lot of different settings, just really get my feet wet. So I started working in the inpatient setting, which I burned out of after 1 year. It was too emotionally draining, too physically draining. It just wasn't for me. Then I switched to outpatient PT. I loved working with people who were active. I loved injury recovery. I loved learning everything about the musculoskeletal system. But after being in there for 3 years, I got so frustrated with the system. A lot of my patients weren't getting better, not because of anything that I was doing, but because they were running out of insurance visits, or insurance wouldn't cover dry needling, or I wasn't allowed to use certain skills on certain patients because of the hoops that we had to jump through with insurance. So I decided to start my own side hustle. At the time, I was teaching at a gym called SweatFix, and I had my dry needling certification. So I set up my table in the back of SweatFix. It was just me, my table, my needles, my sharps container, my gloves. That was it. And I started seeing patients on the side. And that's when I realized that those were the types of clients that I wanted to work with, right? They were coming right from a fitness studio. They had direct access to me. They could ask questions. I could give them exercises to work on. We could do our treatment, do our dry needling right there in the gym. I could show them all the things that I wanted them to work on. They would get better super quickly, and they would go back to the things that they love to do. They would go back to their SweatFix classes. It was a great fit for me. It was a great fit for the clients. Everyone was happy. And I realized that it wouldn't take very much for me to start my own business and make this little side hustle into its own thing. So when I was working in insurance-based PT, some of the biggest challenges that I faced were long hours. I would work until 8 p.m. one day, and then I would have to turn right back around and work at 7 a.m. the next day. The documentation was super time consuming. That was, most of what I spent my evenings doing. I would take notes home. I would be working my regular 40-hour work week, but then I would be coming home with notes and adding on hours that I wasn't getting paid for. There were third-party payers who were determining my treatment plans, deciding when patients would get cut off from their services. I had a young athlete with an ACL repair who was a soccer player, and her insurance company cut her off because she was functional, right? She could go up and down the stairs, but she couldn't return to her high school varsity soccer team. And I just got so frustrated with insurance companies dictating my treatment. I didn't get to work with a lot of the clients that I wanted to see, right? We saw some athletes, but it was anyone whose doctor was telling them they had to go to physical therapy. A lot of times patients didn't want to be there. They weren't seeing the results that we wanted them to see because they weren't putting in the work to get better. I had to see multiple patients at the same time. I had to rely on our other staff to see patients. So if an aide didn't come in that day, or I worked in a clinic where we didn't have an aide, and I would be expected to have someone be finishing their treatment out in the gym doing exercises unsupervised while I was in a private evaluation room seeing another patient. So it wasn't safe. It wasn't somewhere I wanted to work. And the reimbursement rates are so low that it affected my pay, right? There was a cap on my salary. I knew if I wanted to continue to grow in my career and continue to make more money, I was going to have to take on a management position and then still see the same caseload, see a full caseload, and also manage a staff. And it just became too much. So let's talk about cash-based physical therapy and how some of those biggest factors can change. So some of the top benefits of being a cash-based PT is that you get to find your own ideal client and your own niche, right? For me, that was working with people who go to fitness studios. That's runners and athletes, people who go to Orange Theory and F45, because I love that style of workouts. I love CrossFit. I love being in the gym, seeing people really challenge themselves and want to get better physically. And I got to go out there and find those exact clients that I knew would respond well to my style of treatment. You get to use your own skills. You make all of your own clinical decisions in-house, right? There's no one dictating what you do in this treatment session. Say you have someone who's coming in for shoulder pain, and then one day they come in because they sprain their ankle. There's no one telling you that you can't treat their ankle because you know how to get it better, even though their script says shoulder. You don't have to minimize the treatment that you're able to provide and tell them, oh, sorry, I know how to get your ankle better, but I can't treat that because your script says shoulder. You get to see all your patients one-on-one for a full hour. The documentation is so much simpler, right? You don't have to worry about billing codes. Sometimes we do generate a super bill for clients that they can try and get things reimbursed through their insurance afterwards, but it is a million times more simple than trying to navigate your notes and figure out what the insurance company wants you to write in order to get services reimbursed. You can charge a higher price point for your services, right? We have our doctorate. It's a high value getting people better and getting them back to the things that they love to do. We're able to charge for those services and actually get paid for the things that we're providing. You get to create your own hours. If you don't want to stay and work until 8 o'clock, you don't stay and work until 8 o'clock. There's no cap on your income. There's a relatively low startup cost, which this was something that I found the most surprising when I started. When I first started my side hustle, all I had was my table and my dry needling equipment. That was it. I didn't need anything fancy. Luckily, I was in the gym so that I could use the equipment there, but that's a great place to start. There's really low overhead, especially in the beginning when you don't have any staff and it's just you. Low overhead cost. There are great margins and great cash flow. So let's talk about my actual timeline to 6 figures in our business. So I took the dry needling course in 2018, started finding my niche, those fitness studio athletes. I started seeing clients on the side at my side hustle in 2019. And then in 2020, I got laid off from my physical therapy job. Behind the scenes, I was starting to build out our business. We opened our doors in January of 2021, and we hit 6 figures in 3 months. Once the business was actually open, it did not take long. Those first 3 months were cash flow positive. It was incredible to see the success. We saw over 300 clients in the first month, and we opened our second location just over a year ago, so in 2023, so just 2 years later. So let's talk about getting started and why It's not as difficult as you might think, and it's not super scary. And I know that this is something that seems super intimidating, and taking the leap and quitting your full-time job can seem so scary, but it is so worth it. And once we actually talk about some of the things that you need to consider and you get your ducks in a row, it is so, so worth it. And you can make things happen super quickly. The three biggest fears that I had before opening my business were financial. How much money was I going to need to open my own clinic, right? What was I going to need to consider as far as my health insurance, and how much savings was I going to need, and what was I going to do about our overhead costs? So I really needed to map out our financials. And then legal considerations. What are the things that you really need to think about? Business insurance, liability insurance, all of those things, all of the restrictions, the guidelines based on the Board of Allied Health. And then lastly, mentoring. What if I didn't know how to run a business? As a physical therapist, I never learned how to sell. I never learned how to market, right? Those are some of the skills that can really help your business get to the next level, and things that I had to learn along the way. So let's start with financial. And this can seem really scary, and there's a lot of different ways to go about opening a business. And I think that a lot of people think that they have to invest in this super nice gym equipment, and they have to have, squat racks and cables and all these different things in order to do their treatments. But once I started small and actually realized that all I really needed was some bands and some dumbbells, my treatment table, some dry needling equipment, some cups, then I realized that the expenses weren't going to be as high as I thought. And in the beginning, instead of paying for advertising and dumping money into paying for ads on Instagram, I started doing everything I possibly could to promote my business for free, right? You can go into a gym and set up a workshop. You can talk to clients. You can start doing free injury assessments or free screens. Just talk to people. Just start getting your name out there. Start collecting email addresses so that someday when you do have things to promote, you have people that you can reach out to, right? And those things you can do for free. Start finding your ideal client, right? Think about, where do they go work out? Where do they spend their time? Where do they go to the coffee shop? Start getting out into the community and actually going to find them. Then start networking. Start talking to as many people as you possibly can about what your mission is. If your mission is to help active individuals get back into running, where can you find those people? Maybe it's at road races that you post up. Start talking to as many people as you can. Start networking on Instagram. Start posting free material on how to improve your running form. Start with networking in any way that you possibly can without investing a ton of money. And then start small, especially when it comes to the business and the equipment that you need. You don't need a ton, right? We started with a super small space when we found our first location for Fixed. It was less than 1,000 square feet. All we needed was our tables. We needed a front desk area. That was it. And it was just me seeing clients. And that was what was necessary to become cash flow positive in the very first month. And then lastly, invest in working with someone who knows finances, right? Like if you're going to spend your money somewhere, don't dump it into advertisements. Don't dump it into equipment that you don't need yet. Invest it into someone who knows what to do with money. And that's some of the best money that we've ever spent. Then when it comes to legal, start doing research on your area, right? What are the guidelines for the Board of Allied Health in your state? Start looking into some of those things. What licensure do you need for your location? If you're going to have assistive staff, what are the things that they can and cannot do? If you're going to have a physical therapy assistant, what are the requirements in your state? And then absolutely 100% invest in business insurance and your own personal liability insurance. Personal liability insurance is not a big expense for physical therapy. I think that in Massachusetts, it's less than $200 a year. So that's something to start with, especially if you have clients that you're going to start seeing on the side. You want to just make sure that you're protecting yourself if you're seeing clients outside of where you already work. And then invest in that business insurance. Having really good business insurance just always gives us good peace of mind. And that's something that I would highly recommend spending your money on. And then lastly, mentoring. So if I can make one big recommendation, it is to invest in a mentor who has been through the process, who can guide you. So this is exactly what I did. So when I opened my business at Fixed, I invested in having a partner. My partner was the owner of SweatFix. She had already opened 5 fitness studios. She had been a CPA. She knew accounting. She could do all of the back end as far as marketing goes, as far as legal considerations go, as far as making sure that we had all of our ducks in a row for the business and getting everything set up properly. And a partner who could do everything that I couldn't do let me focus on working on the business. Once you have a good mentor, ask questions, shadow, learn as much as you possibly can. And this is what I did from my mentor. Now we help, we run the business hand in hand. We each have our own strengths. I'm so grateful that she is on board to do all of the back end things so that I can focus on client treatments, building out our team, and growing the business from the physical therapy side. And then lastly, you have to learn how to sell. And this is a great place for a mentor to come in. So at the end of this workshop, I'm going to offer you a free copy of our 6-figure sales tips from a physical therapist. Some of the things that I use with every single client who walks through our doors so that we have the highest return, right? So we have the highest retention rates. If someone is coming to see us, it's for a reason, and we want to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that they come back and they invest with us. And having a mentor who can actually teach you how to sell is incredibly powerful. So let's talk about a future with Fixed, because we have super exciting news. Franchise opportunities are now available. And I know that can seem a little bit confusing, and I want to talk about what a franchise actually means and what that could look like for you. So franchise opportunities are now available with us at Fixed because we believe that physical therapists and athletic trainers deserve a better career path, and their clients deserve better access to care. And that's what you're able to provide when you open a Fixed studio. As the insurance hoop just become more and more complicated to jump through, now is the time to start reimagining your career and starting on a path that you're actually super passionate about. So let me just tell you a few things that are the many, many positives to opening a franchise. Last year, we opened our 2nd location in Haverhill to test our concept. We found a space, we renovated it, we opened it within 30 days. So it is a quick turnaround once you have a location that you're interested in. Opening a Fixed is a super smart investment. Compared to other big brand recovery brands, like you'll see a lot of stretch studios and all of these different fitness brands popping up, they can cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to open, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to open. So this is a smart investment where we truly believe that if you put the work in and you do, follow the guidelines that are laid out for you in our operations manual, your return on investment can happen quickly. A Fixed studio is super quick to open. So if you're someone who doesn't want to wait months and months and months to get your dream going and wants to actually seize this opportunity and take advantage of it happening, now is the time. And it's quick to open. We turn around that space in just 30 days. And a Fixed studio complements the always expanding wellness and fitness market. Right now, you can see an Orange Theory all over the state of Massachusetts and in many other states. You see F45, you see all of these fitness studios where people want to be active. They want to continue to move their bodies and feel good about themselves. And Fixed is the perfect complement to that, right? We're not a competitor for any of these fitness studios. We complement what they do very well. We offer them, their clients, the opportunity to continue to run and to lift and to do these things that they love to do because we can actually help them continue to feel good. So here's what we can provide as a Fixed franchisor. We can provide trusted brand awareness. Fixed has 2 locations that have extremely successful client retention. We have a brand that is trusted and that clients come to us because they know they're going to get the exact treatment that they're looking for. We have a complete training on our successful techniques and treatment methods. So you'll know going in that using our 4 different bodywork services, you can get your clients better, get their optimal health, and use the exact techniques that we use in our current Fixed locations. So there will be no questions on how to use the most successful treatment methods. We have a complete client acquisition and retention strategy, which I think is the hardest thing as a physical therapist going out on your own, right? It's where do I find these clients? How do I get them to come into the doors? And how do I make sure that they stick with me so that I have recurring revenue month over month? And that is what we have built out in the Fixed franchise. That is the exact blueprint that you are given when you open a Fixed on how to do some of these things. You have access to all of our resources, all of our connections, everything that we've built in our business for the last almost 4 years. You have access to all of that. So you have access to all of our marketing materials, all of our flyers, all of our email marketing techniques, all of our text message marketing techniques. All of that are things that you don't have to worry about. Some of the things that we spent the most time on before we opened Fixed were things like developing our website, right? And that's something that as a franchisee, you never have to worry about that. The website is already built out for you. The exact business plan is already there. You have a complete guide on how to follow through, how to make this a successful business. All you have to do is execute, which was one of the scariest things when I first opened, right? We didn't know if people were going to like our model. We didn't know if this was going to be successful. Now we know for a fact, we've seen it twice in 2 different locations that the model works. The strategies work if they're implemented in the correct way. You have business mentorship. You have access to myself, a physical therapist, and my business partner, Elise, who does everything on the business side. Any possible question you would ever have about the business side, she and I are there to answer. You have financial support and assistance and more. So we are super excited to continue this conversation. I hope that this opened your eyes to some of the things that you can start doing right now. So if you're looking to open your own cash-based PT clinic, really start about nailing down your niche, thinking about getting out there, start networking yourself. And if you're hesitant about opening your own business and going out on your own because it's terrifying, and I know because I've been there, then let's talk about opening a Fixed, because as a franchisee, you are given the exact blueprint on how to make this business successful. You can come in, you can train in our headquarters, you can learn every technique that we have under the sun, so that when you open your business, you are super confident in every technique going in. You are super confident that your business is going to be successful. Let us help you work on the business side so that you can focus on the things that are actually important, right? Seeing your clients, getting them better, staying up to date on physical therapy research, the things that you actually want to focus on to get people better and help us spread our mission. So if you're interested in continuing this conversation, we would love to chat with you. Let's meet and brainstorm and learn if you might be a good fit to open a Fixed. Come in, start shadowing, seeing if this is a model that you actually enjoy and if it's a setting that you can see yourself working in. And then start doing some research. Let's see where the next Fixed location might do really well. We know that Fixed does well near fitness studios where people are highly active, close to cities where things are happening and people are moving. So start doing that research and seeing if your area might be a good fit for a Fixed. Here's where to contact us. Please feel free to reach out to myself, Ariel at fixedstudios.com, and my business partner, Elise at fixedstudios.com. You can find our website if you just want to check us out. Our franchise page is on there as well, and you can find us on Instagram at Fixed Studios. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this webinar, and I hope